I am so glad that you're here so we can learn and grow together. No matter where you are in your journey of life and what your goals, ambitions, and dreams may be, deep down in our core, we all share a beautiful common aspiration, and that is to be happy and live a wonderful life. Just like you, I've had my share of experiences with life, and I am ecstatic to share this amazing journey with you as it continues to unfold. Through years of studies and self-discovery, and with the guidance of incredible mentors, coaches, and teachers along the way, I have been fortunate to find my light and see the path to joy, peace, and happiness. And I want to help you find yours. My ultimate desire is to uplift your spirit, bring consciousness to your thoughts, and remind you that you are an outstanding, uniquely powerful, and eternal spiritual being that is here for this amazing physical experience that we call life. Guiding you through this to unleash your power within and elevating the collective consciousness and happiness of those who I come in contact with has become my true obsession in life. So let's begin this journey together and know that it is my absolute pleasure to get to know you, cheer you on, and be your personal Lucifer and Lightbringer to illuminate the path and be your champion to find your own light along the way. I want you to think of limitless possibilities and manifest the journey ahead and achieve anything and everything you have ever desired. If you are blessed to have found your light already, allow us to pour into each other and share your wisdom so collectively we shine brighter together and be a beacon of hope for others in need. With that said, let's begin and welcome aboard.
For me, it was like, the feeling was like it's like a swamp. It's like a swamp is dragging you inside and you can't get out of it. The more you try, the more you go inside and you feel like you are helpless.
One of the things that we were going to talk about today is the topic of depression. And what are some of the root causes and how it could be addressed quickly, if possible, with just some different methods outside of the traditional medication and things like that. And again, we are just sharing our experiences and what has worked for us and what also could work for other friends that could be sharing some of the similar situation.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, like, we're just sitting here sharing experience, all our experience in life. And I think the main point for me regarding depression was when I went through so many things at the same time, I realized that I'm not feeling well. And then I went to see a doctor, and then I realized I'm suffering from depression or just for that period of time. And they gave me medications, and after a while taking it, I realized that's not me, that's not for me, because it just made me very numb and it wasn't me. And I stopped, and at that point I felt like I am stronger than that medication. And Bobby, my brother, I remember it was during pandemic that we had this conversation that I was at the farm with him and we talked, and I said, I don't want to take this medications anymore, and I really want to, because I believe in my own mind and I believe that I'm more powerful than this medication, and I don't know how long it takes, but I'm willing to give it a try. So I just stopped taking those cold turkey. I stopped everything, and then I started practicing with Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you know him or not. So started with his meditation routines and try different things, basically. That was the beginning of my journey.
What did that depression feel like to you? Like, how do you define depression?
For me, it was like, the feeling was like it's like a swamp. It's like a swamp is dragging you inside and you can't get out of it. The more you try, the more you go inside and you feel like you are helpless. You are hopeless. No one and nothing out there can help you. It's just you, your body and your mind, and you just have to figure it out. And to me, it was very dark, full of anxiety, full of fear, full of darkness, full of question marks and panic attack. For me, my type of the depression that I went through, maybe like you went through something else, Bobby went through something, all of us.
So was it, you explained a lot of obviously negative feelings, what we call them, right? I mean, nothing is really negative or positive. It's the meaning we give it. However, for the sake of the conversation, let's call something that doesn't feel good a negative stimulus, right? So these are all the negative feelings that you're feeling as the result of this depression. Now, the question is, which one would you narrow it down to? Like, was it loneliness, or was it sadness? Was it, like, if you were to pinpoint a couple or maybe a combination of the top few ones, what would come to mind?
I think basically I was suffering from main part of it was anxiety, because I was anxious what's going on outside, that why I'm feeling like I'm not part of it. I feel like left alone, or maybe just something bigger is happening outside of me. So
that's very interesting, because anxiety has a completely different physiological effect than depression.
And so anxiety causes depression.
No, what I'm saying is, like, when you're anxious, like, think about it, your heart rate's going up, right? You're perspiring, you're breathing heavily, right? One could dare say, if they look at it, that you could look at it as excitement almost, right? Because it's the uncertainty of what's happening. Things are out of control, and it could also be exciting if we focus on it that way, right? So what I'm saying is, if we can change the way we look at certain things, right, that could also translate or transform the meaning that we give it to ourselves. That whole self-talk, that instead of I'm being anxious right now, I'm feeling anxiety, it's like I'm feeling some excitement coming up. What's going on? What is it coming from? What's the message? What can I do about it? And that's the part that I think it takes practice to be able to get there, right? Versus snapping your finger and being able to do it. And that's the quicksand that you were talking about, that a lot of us, or a lot of people, feel themselves in it before they can pull out. And what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I still have that feeling, like sometimes when a baby crying, it's not negative, but it's a sign of suffering from something, or needing something, or causing, like, the cry just shows us, like, it's just a sign for baby being hungry, or if she's in pain or something, you know. So I believe all these things that I said, like anxiety, panic attack, all the stuff that I went through, those were like exactly the same as that cry, the sign that my body was showing me something is not right, something is going on. In my scenario, which I don't know if I told you or not, because I believe in my own like God or existence or whatever, like inner power or whatever that is there protecting me, like no matter what. So I believe in that. Maybe it's my power, but I'm getting it, I'm receiving it. After a journey that I had, I saw that part of that anxiety that I was suffering from is coming from outside. Why? Because I was very worried about other people's opinion about me. And we see that today's society, if you pay attention, all the children, all the teenagers, and everybody, like even adults, are suffering from it without even knowing. They are suffering from a kind of anxiety that comes from getting attention from the outside world. And if they're not getting that attention, they get that anxiety.
You mean by acceptance from other people?
So that's the part that I wanted us actually. You said something really interesting, because when you said it's coming from outside, the anxiety and all that stuff. So where I have been experiencing is the outside stimulus does not matter anymore. been kind of tapping into this whole ritual that I can actually change the mindset. I mean, I've had a lot of fantastic gurus and teachers throughout the years. You know, Anthony Robbins, Richard Branson, Andy Harrington. You know, just Sadhguru, Osho, all of these mystics and amazing mind rewiring, re-engineering masters. They all believe in the fact that nothing from the outside should impact what's happening within us. This is our boundary, right? Sadhguru says, if you allow your negative emotions take over by something that somebody else does or a stimulus coming outside, that's the ultimate of slavery, because you all of a sudden gave your entire being to that outside of stimulus or that person that might be even causing it.
Yeah, but it's not like, probably like so many people knows that, but they can't actually put that in action.
They don't know how.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's no can't. You can figure out. One of my favorite quotes of all time is Henry Ford's, and he says, "If you believe you can, or you believe you cannot, you're right." So if you're thinking that I can't do this, what's the message you're sending to your brain? I can't do this. So this is too hard. 100%. And guess what? Your brain doesn't want to make you a liar and just say, okay, you can. So it's going to agree with you and just say, okay, cool, you can't do it. You're not going to find that answer to figure it out. But when I want to try to do this and I should do this, that changes to, I must do this. There is no going back. The bridge is behind, burn it. All that stuff. Like there is no, I have to go forward and this is where I want to get. When it becomes the must, I promise you the brain finds ways to do it. Now, what I'm referring to some of this stuff is when the outside stimulus, like let's talk about this for example. What could be something that would cause an anxiety, for example? Something that somebody does. Can you give me an example?
Could cause anxiety?
Right, like an outside stimulus.
I don't know, just...
At work, maybe. When you're driving, sometimes.
Okay. So,
but more than anything these days,
or social
looking
media.
exactly, just looking everyone else's life and feeling like, oh my gosh, like I'm behind in why I don't have this, why I'm not there, why I don't do this and that.
so
Like that, it's okay. I'm telling you this because I was one of them. So I went through that. This is my past. This is my 5 years ago.
right.
As soon as I quit social media, and the reason that I quit social media because I had that dream and I had that vision that social media is destroying me and so many other people around me, human in general, people who are very addicted to social media in a bad way because they don't know how to use it. Probably I was one of them. And as soon as I quit that attention from the outside world.
Can we agree on something? Nothing is really good or bad. It's the meaning that we're giving it. The social media is not bad. It's phenomenal. A lot of good things coming from it, right? Now, if it's being used in a different way that is causing a different meaning for someone else who's perceiving it, that becomes negative. I just want to make sure we're clear on
I
that.
said that.
Yeah,
right now.
because we were talking
Yeah.
about the anxiety. So
You said anxiety. This is one of the reasons that I can see everybody around me are suffering from anxiety. This is one of the main sources of anxiety. I'm not talking about those people who knows how to use social media. I'm talking about those people who doesn't know. I was one of them, and I know so many people. They are one of them. They're still one of them. They're suffering from it because they need attention. If they go one day without social media or Instagram, if they don't get like 200 likes, or if they don't get as much attention as they need for a day, it's like their dose of vitamin that day, it's not provided. So they go crazy. It's like social media and those likes and attention, that is their medicine for the day. That's why if they don't get it, if they don't take it, they get a lot of anxiety. And you see, like in school, because I know that because I have a friend who is a social worker. I know that a lot of girls and guys now at school, younger generation, they are suffering from a lot of anxiety in that age. Imagine just because of wrong usage of social media, exposing themselves and doing so crazy things. So that's why I mentioned that.
So here's the way my understanding of anxiety is, and not anxiety, I'm sorry, depression. And this is based on my own experience, and again, a lot of other research that is out there, that anxiety essentially, not anxiety, why I keep calling it that, depression essentially comes a lot of times from loss of control. When you can't control, think about it, the stuff is going wrong in your life, you can't control it, right? And stimulus is coming from outside, you don't know, not because you can't, you don't have the skills, you don't have the resources yet to deal with it in a way that you can turn it into a positive message and a learning experience, and it becomes an emotional baggage, right? So it's a bundle of loss of control in every aspect that is going to hit this individual that is not equipped to how to deal with it, right? And that transfers into negative self-talks, right? Negative, oh, everything's going wrong in my life. I'm not worth it. I'm not a good person. Or every imaginable negative self-thought. I'm never gonna have this. All those is gonna keep depressing you, putting you in a lower state, emotional state. You're at a 1 or a 0 even, right? And they are skills that could be practiced. It could be taught, and the key with that is it's a lot of practice to be able to change the mindset and the focus, right? It's impossible for you to feel depression and think about comedy while you're watching comedy and you're present and genuinely watching comedy and laughing, right? So that's the part I'm just saying, breaking that pattern. And what I'm saying, a pattern is like, to get to the level of depression, it's a lot of work. And I'm not saying that to be funny, it's a lot of work, because you have to constantly think about all the shit that is going wrong in your life, right? Everything all the way down. And you have to do that again over and over the next day, right? And you got to do a lot of self-negative talks to get to that level that, okay, I'm depressed. Yeah, this sucks. Life is not worth living. And that's with the repetition. And what has been practiced a lot, and again, I'm saying it because I'm one of those success stories, that you can change that into a very positive feeling that you can actually instantly turn that around. But when you hit that rock bottom, when that must becomes, I have to do something about this, that's when there's no other way going back, and that's when you want to go forward with it. So this is the part that I'm referring to in terms of being able to change the mindset, to be able to redirect the focus and thought, if that makes sense. What are your thoughts?
Or reprogram your mind, because when you're grown up and you're trying to learn something, you have to do it a lot of time, repeat it, and you can learn it, like driving or bicycling or something like that. And our mind is like that. When you are in a lower vibrations and you are continuing living that, this lifestyle is going to be part of your body. Brain is not doing it anymore. Your body is know how to do it. It's doing it automatically. So for changing that, basically you have to change your state of mind first. Yeah,
100%. So one of the big one is changing the state of mind. The second one is your state, your physiology, right? I mean, think about it. If you are droopy, short breaths, right? Just hunched over and all that, and just thinking about some bad stuff, is very quick to get to that lowest state of depression and just not feeling good. Right now, reverse that. You're getting up, you're thinking about happy thoughts, sunshine, you're going outside, right? You're doing jumping jacks, you're laughing, just for no reason. I mean, you could be just smiling. Have you ever tried smiling just right now? I mean, for the kick of it, you just smile without any reason all the way over. Just seriously.
I know.
It makes you feel good inside when you do that. When it's just, if you practice that and constantly practice that, all of a sudden it takes a new form of the habit you just mentioned, right? So the new habit
breaking the old habits, basically.
Bingo. So one, you change the mindset by focusing on the positive things, and the gratefulness.
Don't stay in the past, and don't think about the future, just stay in the present moment, and then the process is going to begin.
That's another part that my dear cousin Farzaneh, you mentioned that I worry about the past, I worry about the future and all that. So a big part of this whole out of control phase that leads to the depressive state is the past. One, the past is gone. We don't have any control over it, right? The only thing that causes is regret and sadness, which could translate into anxiety because it's like, and if you keep looking at the rearview mirror, right? So a lot of the future is going to look the same too, right? So you're already manifesting that. The second part of that is we think about the future, as you mentioned, right? And thinking about the future causes what? Anxiety, which is another part of that whole depression package that you were describing, right? So to Babak's point, the best thing for somebody who is being depressed is being present at the present moment, because if you're at the present moment, there's nothing wrong with us. Literally, I mean, as long as your body's healthy and you're good, there is no person at the door knocking and asking for you to pay the $200 bill or whatever that you might be owing, that you're thinking about, that, oh, I got to write a check for that Monday, I don't have the money for it. At the present moment, none of that stuff exists. It's the baggage that we're putting on ourselves, right? Because we're either in the past or in the future, right?
I kind of understand what you're trying to say here, but at the same time, because I went through that, and also I believed in so many things before going through that, and I felt like I would never ever experience that because of all those beliefs. When I went through that, I realized sometimes when you are in the middle of that, all the talks that you're talking about, all the talks and things that we are saying, okay, do this, do that, it's very easy, switch, the switch button. We think like it's very easy. But we are not robots. We are human beings. We are full of emotions and feelings, and we are living with all those emotions and feelings. It's not like, it's like heartbreak these days is you need time to heal. It's not like you take a pill and tomorrow you're all good. You just switch this mindset and thoughts and thought process and you're all good. Based on my experience, all the stuff that you guys are saying is absolutely right. But it's not like people can switch, like I'm going through anxiety, I'm going through depression, whatever else. Right now, I went through a breakup, it was really tough, this and that and that. I'm in the middle of fire, and with a switch, I can change everything. Are you really
at the middle of fire?
Not now.
But what I'm saying is think about the meanings that you're giving to it. Here's the thing: we have a tendency of making things a whole lot worse than they actually are.
Wait, when you are so sad, when you're heartbroken,
we make it worse than it actually is.
Yes.
Oh,
exactly.
My world is over. It's a heartbreak.
Yes.
We all have had it. We move on. Life goes on. But what I'm trying to say is the meaning that we give it to ourselves. And hear me out for a second. I'm not saying everybody's a skill to do it on the first session, right? It's a learning curve for everybody's different. You might have a breakthrough and do it in 1, 2, 3, 4, but it takes practice to do it.
Exactly.
What I'm saying is, if you are happy, even momentarily for 5 minutes, aren't you better equipped to deal with the fire, so to speak, that you're dealing with for that 5 minutes? It's like, okay, I was there 5 minutes ago. I can do this again tomorrow. I feel better. And keep extending that to you.
Exactly. I'm telling you the same thing. Right. I don't look at it as a fire. But when I look at it right now, after 5 years, after 3 years, it doesn't look like fire anymore. But when I was there 5 years ago, it felt like worse than fire.
So
for me,
this is what I'm talking about. So these experiences, right? So the next one that comes up, imagine yourself having that experience, that future fire that hasn't even happened. Worst case scenario, think about it. And think about the way you already overcome that. So you've been there, done that. So the other one is hopefully is not going to affect you nearly as bad as the first one did, because you're like, oh, this looks familiar. I've gone through it. I know how to deal with it.
Exactly. So that's part of life. I mean, like, maybe this is human being. This is human being experience. It's not like the first time, if I learn the switch, if I haven't gone through that, okay? Let's say I haven't gone through that yet, okay? If you teach me that, there is a skill there so I can learn, and when I'm like in the middle of that and I feel like, oh my gosh, this is happening, I can just switch that button and click that button and switch, like turn that switch and everything is all good. I'm just saying, to me, realistically, It's not
do you
possible.
know why it's not possible?
Because in that moment when someone is going through that for the first time, everything is new to her. Everything is new. You've never experienced that before.
and you're focusing
Can I
on
say
it.
something?
Yes, go ahead.
It's all depends on the person, how was he or she or they was attached to that thing,
How much is strength and meaning
how
they've
much
got.
strength and how
Absolutely.
much she or he or they was have that, like, how do I say, like that feeling, so they want to lose it. So they want to have it, don't lose it. I don't want to like unhook it from me, you know what I'm saying?
You don't
So you
let
keep
go.
it, you don't want to let go, you keep it with yourself. So you know it's gonna harm you, but you're not gonna let go of it.
Right.
It's you don't want to let go of it. It all depends on you. You can let go of it, but you don't want to let go of it because you're enjoying it.
It's a choice.
It's a choice, but you're enjoying it. You're really enjoying it, that pain. Seriously, I'm talking about
it's-
enjoying that pain,
well,
that suffering.
Some people might disagree with the enjoyment aspect of it, but here's the
don't-
part. Here's the part that Farzaneh hit it home right now for me, because when we have limited beliefs, right? And I'm gonna call it for it is what it is, right? When we say to ourselves, when I'm in the middle of all this, it's impossible for me to do this. When this is happening, it's difficult. All the stuff that we're telling to ourselves, it makes it so. So what I'm saying is, if one, and I'm not saying you, everybody's different based on what Babak said. I have done it. I've done it with people that I've mentored and coached myself too, right? Yes, as I mentioned, I'm not a psychologist, but I have a pretty good background in psychology. And again, with the life coaching and stuff that I've delved in, I'm having fun with it, and I'm also helping people, right? So the part that I can see is the desire that I see in the people that I speak to, and I'm able to make that impact with them. When I'm speaking to them, have you had enough? Like, they're at the point that I want to feel better, I must. Okay, that's when you are gonna walk across that fire, because it's a must. There is nothing else behind you. It's coming and it's not good and you don't want it anymore. That's when you jump, right? And when you're at that level, anything is possible. You can learn it within minutes, and you can have it consistently throughout the week, and you might have a fall off. Listen, I have some thoughts sometimes that are like going down the negative thought, and then I have to catch myself, or Andy reminds me, Lucifer, don't be hypocritical. Yep, you're right. So I get my head back, right? So, but here's the thing, scientifically proven, on average, we have 70,000 thoughts. Right? 70,000 thoughts. Out of those 70,000, take a guess, how much of it is focused on negative versus positive?
Probably more than half.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. 80% of those 70,000 thoughts are negative thoughts, right?
They're almost the same thoughts that's repeating themselves.
Bingo. 95% of that 80% of repetitive thoughts. So imagine what we're doing to this existence. Like, we're not talking about robots. If we were robots, we could have taken that. We can't. And we put ourselves in that state of mind that we are helpless. Do you know how to train a elephant circus, right? They put for a baby, they put a little chain around his leg, right? A little rope and all that, and the elephant can't break. So years later, when this giant, many tons, powerful creature, you could still tame it with a rope around his ankle, because you've broken it. It's his belief is, I can't move. And that's what we tell ourselves. It's impossible. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's called conditioning.
It is. And this whole episode and programs are about the brainwashing, to be able to unleash those limiting, mind-limiting beliefs that has been downloaded in us through generations and generations, and our upbringing and our culture, right? And that's the part that I'm passionate about, to be able to share some of my stories with my loved ones, and be able to impact friends that might be dealing with some of the same situation, because it is possible to do so. Millions of people do it on a regular basis when they want to, and when they have had enough, and then they either have their own natural breakthrough, or they seek help through some of these amazing mentors that we know, Persian mentors. I mean, every culture has them. I mean, some of the biggest ones we've already mentioned that are known to the Western culture. So that's when you seek help, and we all have it within us. This is not something that is divine, or not, actually it is pretty divine, but let's just say it's not something that is specific to these individuals. We all have the power to, one, be able to get to that level, and two, be able to help others that we recognize that they need that assistance, right? And that's the beauty of it, because in the core of every single one of us, we're pure energy, right? Pure energy. That energy is not depressible. It's fluid. It's moving. It's the thought. It's all the restrictions that we're putting on it that is just making us feel those energy, right? I mean, I know you both are very spiritual. I mean, I know we didn't talk about it in the beginning when we started, Press. I mean, you're both on your own journey on path of spirituality, right? And through my interaction, I've learned a lot from both of you guys. I'm hoping I've contributed some, but some of this conversations is also very educational for me, because one way I learn is by communication, right? When you say something that makes me think, that helps the evolution process happen. So I really appreciate what you guys are doing, and I'm hoping this is maybe somewhat giving a different perspective on some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Does it?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are your thoughts so far based on what we talked about? Is that possible to be able to change that depressive state that you talked about? I'm just saying, is it possible? Just entertain the thought.
Everything is possible, yeah. I think it's,
to be able to change
even
it.
in quantum physics, it's
Right.
yeah,
Now, here's the thing. The main thing I want to ask is, my dear cousin over here, she mentioned it's impossible to do so. Now, based on everything that we talked about, I want to know if you feel like, if it's possible now to be able to be at a different state, how much do you want it? What's your platform? What's your belief system? What's your familiarity level with this level of procedure? And it's a procedure, really, right? So it takes practice, it takes meditation to get there.
That's a really good point that you mentioned. Maybe me and Bobby, like, you call us a spiritual person, like, or we are seeking spirituality, kind of. Thank you so much for looking at us and acknowledging that, but that's the really basically what can I say is very good point that you mentioned, you bring up, because I think my point of view is a little bit different than you at this point. I feel like human being, they have to go through specific stuff in life in order to learn.
Why? Why do you feel that way?
Because I feel like this is the way they can, because it's there for them to experience. They are here to experience life. And that's part of the life. That's part of life experience. I'm not saying everybody has to go through, like very like extreme level of anxiety or depression or whatever, but I mean, like, everyone, human being, in order to learn and pass and grow up,
I see what you're saying,
need to pass that phase. Maybe my perception from that whole is totally different.
No.
Maybe Lucifer, when he is going through the same thing, he doesn't feel the same as mine. Maybe mine is way more difficult, and I look at it as a fire. I give name to it. It's like very because of all the pain that I had from the past, maybe because of all those stuff that I went through. That's my perception, okay, which is different than you, but
I don't think it's different. I agree with you. I do want to say, thank you for clarifying.
Perception to that, basically, of that depression.
No, okay. Let me clarify one thing so we're on the same page. When I asked why, because I wanted to understand your thought process, and I 100% agree that it's needed for all of us to experience that. The frequency of it that we choose to experience, the fact that do we want to indulge in that pain or not, that's a little bit
our choice.
Yeah.
That's your choice.
That's I can
right.
like agree with you, because as Bobby said, and my friend told me once to another friend, that she is addicted to depression, she's addicted to pain, because sometimes people want to be addicted to suffering, because as Bobby said, addiction
it's not
brings,
you, it's your body addicted to that
I know.
thing.
So
not
I know
you.
because
It's your body.
you and your body is
Here's
just,
the way I
Because
see it, and I want to share this with
automatically
you.
it's happening. You know what I'm saying?
Generally, I genuinely believe people strive to be happy. Nobody's come on this planet and is born and just grows up at a 5-10 year old like, I'm going to be addicted to depression. That's not the case. There's a series of events that happens that puts you in that state. And yes, you've done it over and over many years, and you've had very strong self-deprecating talks to yourself, and now it's become your addiction. It defines you 100% there. So it's not like they want to be there. They are there and they've accepted it, and there is no way out, so I might as well accept it. This is it, right? There is a way to easily break through out of that. Now, the part that I'm just saying is, and again, I'm not asking you to agree with me or not. I'm just like I appreciate your perspective as I'm also learning from this.
That's wonderful to
right.
hear you out, because I can see all those points that I can actually make point out of it. You know what I mean? For myself.
And this is exactly my point, is because what you just said is 100% correct. That we all have to go through those things. That's life, to experience that, right? However, it's a little bit insane if I know that type of actions leads to that type of emotions and that type of feeling and depressive, and I know it's yucky and bad and I don't want it. That's a little insane. If I still want to, it was like, let me open this door that leads to depression and jump in the room again, right?
That's is something that I'm not, I don't agree with that, because when someone already experienced that, if you are the person who is looking to grow and grow out of it,
right,
and be a better person because you're working on yourself, it's like when you open your eyes to something, you cannot close it again, because it's like awareness. When you know the answer, you can't lie to yourself to just keep telling yourself that you don't know the answer, because you already know that. It's like that. When you are already out of that depression and you know what it did to you and you know how to get out of it, and when you are out of it, like me, when I go back 5 years ago, after that breakup, after all those stuff that I went through, after that like near-death experience, after all those dramas that I went through, back to back, I feel like now when I look at it, I'm not gonna go back again. Even if something, the same exact thing happened to me, the outcome is totally different this time, because I'm not the same person. And I think it's the same thing with everyone, because you cannot. It's inevitable. Change is something inevitable. Yes.
How many people do you know that they've gone through depression, they're out of it, and they go back on depression, they still have anxiety?
A lot of people. Those people are addicted to sadness. That's the same thing you said. They don't even know that, but they are addicted to sadness.
This is the part that I believe. I don't think it's an addiction. It's the lack of knowledge of how to respond to the conditions and the events that are coming their way, that is making in them having those reactions and thoughts that is going to let them down the path of depression. It's being unaware of it. It's not paying conscious attention to what's causing this. It's not being present, as Babak mentioned, right? You're either in the past or in the future, and you're not processing this the way it should be. And oh my God, this sounds familiar. This feels familiar. I've been there before. How do they get out of it? They're going to go down the rabbit hole again. It's not because they're addicted. It's because they don't have the resources or the skills to get out of it.
Skill or tools.
Bingo.
I know
or
that
even they don't have the time, because they are in the state of fight or flight, and they cannot navigate their self to.
That's a very good point.
To have the time to sit and think about it and what's my problem.
That's a very
If you don't have that time, you're never gonna get that point through. You need help.
Because you need time to heal. Lucifer, I remember first time my doctor told me, when you are okay, I remember, guys, I was talking about it and you laughed, because I didn't call that a war. My therapist called it a war. You remember last time we were sitting and talking about like that depression phase, you said, why you name it war?
Well, let's explain what that was.
Yeah, my therapist, when I was there, I wanted to achieve something. I wanted to get well. I wanted to do this and that. He said, listen, calm down. Now I'm getting healed. Focus on getting well, because you have so many injuries on your body. You have so many bruises because you just came. It's like the resemblance was like you just came out of a war. Okay, it's not me naming that a war. He said war zone because.
But does that make it right though? And this is the part that I'm saying.
It made sense. It made sense perfectly because I felt like I have pain all over my body. My soul, my body, every part of my body was in pain.
Okay, so you're feeling the pain.
It's physical,
and here's
like
the
mental,
thing.
you know?
And I'm not necessarily saying what I would have probably done differently in that situation. Instead of feeding and rewarding your symptoms by, oh yeah, I'm so sorry you're feeling this. You've gone through a battle. It's hell. It's the meanings that he's giving to you some sort of meanings that it's very powerful and negative and heavy. And years later, you're still carrying that with you. When we talked about relationships and all that, you started talking about, oh, I'm not ready to go to that war, to that battle. And then we wonder why we don't find that perfect person, because our subconscious is already looking at it as a battle, as all this. This is what I'm talking about, brainwashing. Just because a therapist that you paid money to gave you a bunch of stuff
no, maybe
to work
that
with.
therapist didn't actually call that relationship battlefield. It was the way I went to him seeking help, and I wanted to achieve something else. Right at that moment, he just wanted to calm me down, and I really needed it, and I really appreciate it because I needed that, and I
But you hung
loved
on
the
to
way.
that negative thing.
Yeah, that's something that my brain made out of something else. It's not like my therapist gave that to me like for a relationship.
Right.
No.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like visiting the whole thing because I was out of hospital. I was like after relationship, just not a relationship. It was like a chain of different scenarios happen at the same time. So that's why my doctor called it war zone. Me, I attached that to that relationship. I felt like, oh my gosh, that was a war zone. So that's not that therapist. And actually, he helped me a lot because it made sense because of the pain that I was feeling. When he said that, I figured, oh my gosh, he's right. I feel like I need rest. My body needs to rest. I really need to rest for a while to heal and to be able to think, exactly as Bobby said.
What percentage of the day?
I needed that. I needed that moment to, for a while, just sit, stand, just zen, just do meditate, just
right.
Still, just calm your mind. Just stay still. Just don't do anything. Do nothing, and just
Be present.
Be present. Be present. Be whatever. But just the explanation that the doctor said about that war zone made sense to me because, as I told you, I felt like, oh my gosh, exactly. I feel like I have injuries because I literally felt pain all over my body. You know what I mean?
So what percentage of the day would you say you were focusing on the cause of this? And it was, so this pain was caused because, what was the feeling? Was a pain, sense of?
It was like past trauma. It was PTSD,
But at the
fear of death, PTSD, relationship breakup, attachment issue. It was like a chain of so many things.
Okay.
Back to back.
Can we
to back.
agree that all came down to the sense of loss? If you think about everything you just said, deep down, if I ask a couple of questions, it's going to come down to, because it was a loss of some sort. It was a loss of a loved one. It was a loss of, I don't know, experiences that you had, post-traumatic PTSD and all that. Everything came down to that feeling of loss. The void was there, right?
Feeling of loss, and yes, if you actually connect feeling of death to feeling of loss, I can say yes.
Okay. Yeah,
because
it's a loss of your
death is
life.
the same
It's a
thing.
pretty
Yeah.
big loss, yeah.
Yeah, because at that moment I remember when I was gone, when I saw that line in my mind and I saw that everything whoops in one little frame, the only thought in my mind was, I'm sorry, my language was, what the fuck? That was it? That was it? That was it? I was like, I felt that moment was so miserable and so disgusting. To this day, I can feel that.
So here's the part that I'm talking about. Okay, I love you so much and I want you to listen to me, please. You see how vividly you're explaining everything that you were focused on in terms of what felt yucky. You have such a perfect picture of it because you had obsessed with it so much that put you in those
Of course, because I died.
Right. So what I'm talking about is also with the relationship and everything else, right? However, yes, you died, but you also lived, right? Now, it's a brighter day, right? If we're still holding on to those experiences and the meaning that you're giving it that is so heavy, right? It makes the whole journey a lot, just the traction of it comes.
No, cousin, it's not like that, because I'm explaining it to you vividly. It's because in that moment, my feeling was exactly like this. When I am looking at it today, it's not the same. But in that moment, the whole picture was like
How
that.
often do you think about it, though?
Not anymore. And I learned so many things out of that experience. And the main thing was, when I told you I got out of social media, I quit everything, I quit all the attention from the outside world, it's exactly because I wanted to reach to that point to feel like I have nothing. I wanted to reach to that point that I had fear from. I had a fear of loss of my boyfriend who I love, loss of money, loss of loved ones, loss of life, loss of everything. So literally during pandemic, I experienced almost everything. And I wanted to, because I wanted to feel like, how does it feel like? Am I gonna die? Is it the end of the world? If I lose everything, what's gonna happen? So that's why I'm telling you, intentionally I did that.
Do you ever really lose anything on this planet if you think
No.
But here's the part that I'm, and again,
No, but you cut the attachments to those stuff.
here's the part that I want your feedback and your thoughts on this.
Before you say something. So what do you feel about that death that you're talking about right now? I mean, what do you think about death?
You said
Right
you
now?
almost died.
Yeah,
and all
right
that.
now after you had that experience.
Yeah, but good thing is, like you said, what do you feel?
Are you still have that fear of death?
I don't think I still have that fear.
You don't think, or you know for sure?
No. I feel like it's just not that important. It's just like, it's part of life. When it comes, it comes. So I just have to say goodbye.
So the fear that we're talking about, again, there's a saying that say a coward dies 1,000 times, a brave man dies once, right? I mean, you have the fear of everything that hasn't happened, the fear of this, the fear of that, the fear of that. You listed in a month a pretty big amount of fears that I couldn't even keep up with, right? And none of it has happened, right? Yet you're going through the pain of it every time, instead of, you know what, when it does come, I'll just deal with it that once. And these are the mindsets that I'm telling you, that even though you say you've moved on from it, great, right? However, when I speak to you and we're talking, and subconsciously some of these verbiage that comes out, that I'm not ready for a battle, I don't want the drama, all that stuff, those are very self-deprecating, really, I want to say limiting, rather, thoughts that you do to yourself, right? Tony Robbins says one of the most important things that you could do in life and master it is communication, right? Communication determines the quality of your life. Now, the beautiful part that I love about it is communication to whom? Yourself first. How do you talk to yourself? What do you put in? What do you tell yourself about what you want and you can accomplish, and what's possible and what's not possible? So you're putting all these thoughts that some of them are liberating versus some that are limiting, right? And the limits that we are putting on ourselves is based on all these experiences that we've had.
Is it constructive or is it destructive?
Bingo. And this is the part that I'm saying is, like, if anybody's out there has been there for therapies, right? If the true desire is there, I'm not talking about, I'm not discounting the thing of therapies. Everybody works differently. But if you've gone through therapy, if you've gone through the drug taking and all that and hasn't worked, this is the type of conversation that happens with friends and family.
I never say it hasn't worked. I always say everything works.
Not you. I'm just saying, if somebody's out there that has gone and done all of that and hasn't worked, the reason it hasn't worked is because your mindset has not changed.
That's what I asked her. What was your experience after you have that death experience, because the most of the people have that near death experience. When they come back, they're gonna be like totally different people. Like even when they're even like so much religious, they are become so much like spiritual. They are so spiritual after that, and they don't have that kind of fear anymore in anything, because the fear of death, I think, is the last fear that you can ever have.
Well, this is where I was going with this.
If you experience that, and that experience must be a really powerful and really bright experience. Death experience, when you reach that stage, it's a blessing. If you come back, it's a much blessing.
That transformation of, and this is what I was
big, huge transformation.
100%. And Franjan, this is what I was talking about in terms of when we're talking about these fears that they led to the fear of loss, right? If we truly think about it, everything, one, is made out of energy, right? Second, nothing is lost. It transforms us as energy, right? Anything that you try to destroy, it turns into something different, right? Even when we die, even our ashes and everything is still carbon-based ashes. It's not going away. You could spray it in the air. It's still a part of this whole dynamic, right? So nothing is really lost. It just transforms. Now, if we change that mindset by being able to say that, even in a relationship that is loving, right? It's lost. It's going to transform into something that is, if you think about it, the next one, the curiosity of it, the uncertainty of, ooh, I wonder who the next one is going to be, and what type of qualities am I going to have in this person that I didn't have in the previous one, right? Being able to change that mindset and doing it quickly enough for you not to suffer in the pain that you don't want to be. Now, if you want to more, everybody, again, it's good to sometimes feel those emotions. As you just said, some people like it, right? So if you want to go through that for a certain period of time, feeling the feeling that is probably not very pleasant, that's fine. Go through it. So you got to go low to hit the highs, right? But when you're ready to come out, what I'm saying is it is very, very much possible to be able to instantaneously, by some of these things that we're talking about, the focus of the mind, changing the perspective, and also changing your body dynamic, right? Shoulders back, your posture, the way you eat, the way you exercise, the way you get sunshine. You know, and how much psychological sunshine are you going to get? Who are the people you're interacting with? What type of stories are they telling you? Are they telling you about how bad and horrible their life is too? And now you guys are together, you're both miserable and you're having fun with it, right?
No, I totally get that, because now I see like my life is 100% different than 2019, because I experienced that like near-death experience was happened 2019, and after that till today, I feel like my life is upside down, and in a good way. And I'm not the same person anymore at all. And not even my friends are not the same friends. And my circle of friends are very limited right now. I don't put that much energy or effort or love for everyone. Is just everyone, basically. I have to. I'm very particular about like sharing those, you know, energy to people that are adding to my life, and positive people. As soon as I see someone is nagging and someone is negative, I just don't want to be around them as much as I used to be before. You know what I mean? I really wanted to help people, be around them and just help them. I still help them, but in another way. I introduce them to some books. I send them TED Talks. I send them like stuff that I listen to, but the
people that are nagging, hopefully.
Yes, good. Yes, but I don't want to sit.
That's what that is, that they need the help, and
exactly.
They don't know it.
They need the help, they need the tools, and I sit there and watch them. I don't do that myself anymore, and I usually, like, when I can acknowledge that, sometimes I can, but sometimes when I can, I acknowledge it, and I just tap on my shoulder, and I say, I would definitely like say, bravo, Fran, you did good, because
it's a good feeling.
Most of the times I can say, like, talking behind people's back, like, we're Persian community, you know that, Lucifer, like, people like love to sit and talk behind each other's back, like, you know, being like that, like this, and talk about each other. But when I am in the middle of those like kind of people in that type of group, and I used to participate, but I've noticed that I'm there sitting next to them in that group. Maybe I didn't kind of like expected that conversation, but it just, happened. And I realized that I'm not participating, and I just either say something that tells them that I'm not interested, and they shouldn't be interested in that conversation either. But I usually just get up and just leave that conversation, and I just do something about it. You know what I mean? Before, I wasn't like that. And it's not just in this particular story. Like anything else that bothers me, anything is against my positive vibrations, and it is in my control. When it's out of my control, I still have so many things out there that's out of my control I need to practice. But when it's something that is in my control and I can be part of it, and I can decide not to be part of it, I can actually delete myself or just, say, sorry, I can't be here, and just I leave. So I love that. And I know that it helps a lot. And it is another thing that I want to focus here. So many times, as you said, people don't know the tools that will help them a lot, but they wouldn't know that. Okay. Like I didn't know that exercising, because sometimes we feel so alone, or I feel so lazy. There's so many other factors that push us to not being so consistent in those matters, like exercising every day, like going to gym, doing this and that, eating healthy. When you're all alone sitting by the TV, you just want to have your chips and potato chips and just enjoy your time. But I mean, Lucifer, for a while, because of life circumstances that Bobby mentioned, sometimes people don't have time. Sometimes there are so many things in people's life. We just forget those stuff. We just forget that something very important is out there that we need to focus on. We need to add that to your life.
All right, time out. When you say something that I want to just interject, this is my deal with you and any of my, when I hear something that I think is a nugget, that's when I interject. Otherwise, I want to apologize. It's not an interruption. I want to add something so we can build on that together, right? So when you said something from the outside, that's the part that is... that I want us to be able to change that. It's not an external factor. Everything starts from within, right? Yeah. And I'm sure you agree with it.
Yeah.
That happiness, the number one thing, when you say they don't have time, they have time to write their bills, everything that causes anxiety, all that stuff. But you're telling me they can't find the time to find that inner peace and happiness? Which one takes priority? This is the part that I'm just saying, changing the mindset of focusing on what matters most. Because if you could make everything, you could have the biggest yacht and everything else, but if your inner peace, inner happiness, the true happiness, the ultimate goal in life is what? To be happy. Yeah. And everybody's happiness is different.
No matter what.
Exactly. What your happiness is to you might be different to me, might be different to relatives.
Making the best out of it. Right. You have the ingredient that I don't have, you have that ingredient, make the best cake. If your ingredient is makes the best cake, just make it.
Exactly. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, if we're waiting for something out there to happen to determine the happiness, it's not going to happen, because that one thing, the law of familiarity, let's say it's the next hot boyfriend or the next hot car or whatever it is, the law of familiarity says everything after a while that is next to you, you just start taking it a little bit for granted. It just kind of goes down a little bit. And your level of excitement for it goes away. So you're going to want something else more. So it never stops. It's ongoing. Yeah. As long as you literally feel wealthy and fulfilled inside, the beauty of it is rest will come, and then you appreciate it more and all that.
But Lucifer, let me add something to it. It's really hard to keep that feeling. I'm in the middle of it. I'm practicing. I don't know. One day I wake up, I have that my vibration is so high and I feel so amazing. All of a sudden I lose it and I feel like, oh my gosh, why I feel like this? As much as I try to go up, as much as I try to
How do you try to go back?
Up? With positive thinking, with positive attitude, smiling, gratitude. Gratitude actually been helping me a lot.
So everything you just mentioned is very key tool. The big part of it is it genuinely done, or are you doing it as a defensive thing that, oh my God, I don't feel good, I have to do this, or why it's not happening? Because a part of your thought is still going back towards the fear of it is coming, right? You feel it, you know how it feels, right? Our focus, indirectly, some of it unintentionally goes there. The part that you're saying that takes practice is that part that we can actually focus and master that skill, to your point, to be able to genuinely get there so you can switch it right away. That this is the reason that emotion is happening. If you're aware of it, I want you to quickly think about, what am I thinking about? Emotions do not happen without thoughts. It's impossible. You're not going to feel something if you're not thinking it already, right? And the other part of it is, if you're not acting on something, the stimulus is not coming towards you, right? Even like, let's say you do something right now, or you say something to me. I have to process it before I can respond and feel something about it, which means I'm thinking about what you just said for a second. So if that thought is not there, the emotion is not there. So I promise you, there are some stuff that you're thinking about that is causing that. It's just you're not paying attention to what those thoughts are. And it could be the 70,000 that we talked about. Is pretty hard to keep all the negative ones out.
No, that's true. Yeah, maybe because by habit, when thoughts comes in, or when you're thinking about something that already gave you anxiety before, and all of a sudden that thought comes back before even you paying attention to it, all of a sudden that drags you in again. Mm-hmm. Because that thought, as you said, it's kind of like a habit, because you used to have that thoughts before, and that thought brought you so many negative emotions.
Can we choose our thoughts or not?
We can. I believe we do. We can. But I'm talking about myself. Mm-hmm. I'm not. I think I'm not there yet.
Let's try something together. How do we choose our thoughts? What's the process for you?
For me, when I wake up in the morning, I start my day with positive, thoughts and positive, listening to podcasts, listening to meditations, morning meditations, affirmations or gratitude and all this stuff. Sometimes it really helps. Since morning, I just wake up with a big smile in my face.
What are you grateful about?
And it's just everything, every single thing.
Like what? Give me some examples.
From everything around me, from the ground, from anything that exists in this world.
And what are the feelings of the gratitude that you feel at that moment? Because that's important.
I feel alive. I feel happy. I feel alive. That's why I just keep smiling, because I feel like I'm so fortunate. I feel like I'm so blessed, so blissful to have this family, to have this, that. And sometimes I do the same exact thing, same exact method, routine, and I cannot even smile, even for 1 second.
Is it possible? And again, I'm just saying, is it possible, right? Consider this. Because we just agreed on that we have 70,000 thoughts a day, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible that there are flashes of things that are not necessarily pleasant and happy in between your affirmations and everything, which is taking mind away, and they have been reinforced so heavily throughout the years, they got a more pull than some of these practices that you're working on, and then you go back to where you don't want to be. I'm just saying, is it possible that's happening? Because all I can tell you is, without the thoughts, that it's the emotion towards those thoughts. That's like, if you're thinking about it, you're focused on it, your body, your physiology and everything is just droopy and all that stuff. You're shallow breathing and have those thoughts, that could happen. Is it like a cold day? I don't know what the stimulus is that could be causing that, but what I'm just saying is, pay attention to it next time and be able to catch it and adjust it right away. If it is a thought that is like, for a millisecond, you're thinking about an ex or whatever that is, and you're like, no, the right person comes. At that moment, you've already focused on that. So if the thought of the negativity is even crossing your mind.
And sometimes we just had a dream.
Right.
It just comes from that
Bingo.
dream. Or just sometimes just something just very small thinking about a bill or something in the future can destroy that moment. I totally agree. Might be part of it.
Might be.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and join us next time. If you'd like to sit in as a guest to talk about your journey and share your success story on this program to inspire others, or perhaps need a little pick-me-up in the form of support and advice on how to overcome the life challenges you are facing now, drop us a line at brainwashedcreations.com. Let's connect and step into my world. Please share this with the special people in your life, and remember to smile big, love and laugh often, and surround yourself with those who uplift you constantly. Live your best lives, my friends, and keep on cleansing your mind and be conscious of your thoughts and your self-talk. Until next time, I wish you peace, love, and harmony.